Welcome to our Chef at the Market virtual demonstration brought to you by RV Ag. Each week we will be featuring local chefs who will be sharing recipes using farm fresh products sourced from the RV Ag online marketplace. For more information or recipes, visit our website.
Hi, I'm Jessica Wilson. I am opening up a restaurant in Churchill in Richmond called Grace. It's a gathering of innovative farmhouse cookery. It's a work in progress right now. We're renovating an old 1900 Jewish bakery. It was a confectionery store back in the 1900s. So we're going to make a really simple, rustic tomato, apple, and sourdough soup. Today we're using two farms, Little Green Farm and Deli Carpini Farms, tomatoes and herbs and onions. We want to use some ripe or overripe tomatoes for this, and you can of course cut the core out. I like to use all of it. If they've washed properly, it's going to break down in the oven. So we're just going to half them so you can see all the insides. You want to put your cut side up so they break down faster. And then for this size amount of soup, I'm just making it for one, but if you were doing 2 to 4, I would use the whole onion. I'm just going to use half of the onion. And then cut both ends off. You could just chop it up if you don't have a blender or a handheld blender. You can also use a box grater or just chop it up finely. These are just going to go right on there, so everything's going to get cooked together. And then for the garlic, I'm going to use about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. Because we're just blending it all, it's really easy for them to get off the skins. It's just to go ahead and use the back end of your knife, flat side, and we're just going to smash it. So that will peel right off. You also can just chop it up across smaller, or you can use a mincer if that's what you like at home. And I use Malden sea salt. To me, it's my favorite salt. It's actually from England. It just has a really good minerality in it. But you can use kosher salt and Himalayan salt, whatever's best for you. I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle it pretty heavily so we can season it. We'll season it again once it's completed, but this will help break down the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic. And then a good generous amount of pepper. And then we're going to take some olive oil. And you could also put all this into a bowl, toss it really nicely, and then pour it on top of the tray. And super simple. I'm going to actually, one more thing, I'm going to add a little fennel pollen. You can get this at probably a local grocery store. I think a couple places carry it. Fennel pollen is all the little flowers that have been dried. It's one of my favorites, but it's totally optional. You do not have to use this. It just has a nice little flavor, but you also could take fennel flowers from overflowering fennel herb. All right, so now they're ready to go, nice and seasoned, and we're going to put it into an oven at 425. I'll say for probably 25 to 30 minutes, but depending on your oven, it could go faster or slower, but you just want to get them really nice and charred. And I put it in the middle rack. I think that's about good. Meanwhile, while your vegetables are getting nice and charred and cooking away, we are going to add an apple to it. And I'm not cooking this just because I want that sweetness and the acidity to not dissolve with cooking process of it until we put it into the pot. So I'm going to peel this apple, and this is a Honeycrisp apple. You can pretty much use whatever apple you feel you like or what's available. And the apple, of course, you can do ahead of time, and you can put it in a little bit of a lemon juice so it doesn't oxidize. But it doesn't take very long, so you can do it pretty quickly. Let's peel this guy. We're just going to rough chop this. Again, I'm going to save all the skins and the seeds because we're just going to get some juice, extra juice out of it. We are now going to go ahead and cut up some sourdough bread. I would prefer my sourdough bread to be a few days old, so it's a little easier to cut and it absorbs things. And we're using this. This is just a sourdough, no added yeast to it. You could use another kind of bread if you prefer. So for one person or for one serving, you're probably just going to need one nice slice. For four, I think you want to probably put maybe 4 slices, a slice per person. We're just going to rough chop this up. And you could also do all of this ahead of time. I like to have everything kind of ready to go too in little containers, as you can see. Any little jars or dishes will be good. Okay, we've got a really nice char on them. Like it there. Let's put all this in here. And we're going to add the apple. And we're going to add water. I've got about 2 cups here. I'm going to just add a little in before I put it on the stove, about half of it, just to get it started working here. And this will break this down. The temperature you want about, medium high to high. You want to get it a nice little boil, just to break down everything. We're going to turn down the heat to about a medium low. We're going to add some spices that are totally optional. Right now I'm using turmeric and some chili flake. And turmeric being really good for circulation and just really good for your body. And then a little chili to add some zing into it. I'm going to mix that in. Now that it's been simmering for a little bit, a couple minutes, nice and broken down, I'm going to add some salt before we add the bread, because I don't want to break down that bread too much before to add seasoning. Yeah, those tomatoes look so awesome, nice and pulpy. Now we're going to take that sourdough bread and we are going to pour it right in there. Give it a nice stir so it breaks down, soaks up all the juiciness. Okay, and that we're just going to let sit for just about 3 minutes before we blend it. The bread is soaked up some things, and now we're just going to kind of blend it all together. I'm going to use a handheld blender, but you're more than welcome to use a pastry cutter or a back of a spoon, however whatever is good for you, or a blender if you really want it not broken down, if you want it more puree than anything. All right. And you still want it to be rustic. You're just going to blend it so it kind of breaks down those big chunks of apples, anything left of the onion. Okay. And before we plate this, we'll go ahead and adjust the seasonings one more time. And this is just for garnish, so you can just rough chop it. Set that over to the side. And if you want it a little thinner, you can thin it out with a little bit more water, or if you had vegetable stock or tomato stock, chicken stock you can even use. Got that. We're going to season with a little bit more salt, some pepper. Drizzle with that. And then a little bit. There we have it. We have a early fall tomato and apple and sourdough soup. Enjoy.